So thank you for joining us today. A couple of us are actually in Morris, which is located on the traditional homeland of the Dakota and Ojibwe people. So this is our second in the Careers in Sustainability series, and we hope to have another webinar to showcase more amazing sustainability careers that our alumni have taken on in the energy sector. And that will be sometime in April. But tonight we are focusing on environmental education. And so we have Joe Dunlavy from Minnesota, and they're from the class of 2011. We also have Luciana Ranelli from University of Wisconsin Extension, class of 2014. And we also have Sophie Bishop, who has most recently worked with the Minneapolis Park and Rec Board, and also the Deep Portage Learning Center. And they are the class of 2017. So to get started, could you three introduce yourself? So your name and then what's going on in your lives, and how you're related to sustainability. So Joe, you can start.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the introduction, Lily. I am Joe Dunlavy, and I'm a 2011 grad of the biology program at Morris. I am married to a fellow UMer. She's an elementary education. She's in elementary education, taught 2nd and 3rd grade, and she's now a coach. Community work and volunteering, as most everybody, I imagine, took a big back seat during the pandemic. We're just sort of getting going on that again. My kids are involved in 4-H, and I'm involved in my local church. And then, any other opportunities with, Habitat for Humanity, for instance, and the food shelf. Fun things, I live on a 40-acre farm with my kids and wife. We have 2 kids, 8 and 6. And we're just working on building it. We just bought some sheep and they just lambed, so that was exciting. And we're right next to my parents and my sister and brother-in-law. We all live on rural acreages out here, so we kind of farm together. It's family activity, a broad family activity. Side projects that are relevant to our discussion. Just living on the rural acreage, I've always stayed sort of close to the land and connected with it. And I'm happy to be finally working in that field.
Thank you. Luciana, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. I'll go next. My name is Luciana Ranelli, and like Lily said, that I graduated from Morris in 2014, and I studied biology and secondary education. I use she, her pronouns, and right now I'm calling in from Superior, Wisconsin. From a place out my window does not look exactly like this picture right now because it is an off-season photo. I live and work where the St. Louis River enters Lake Superior, and it's like the biggest tributary in the U.S. into Lake Superior, which is then into the whole Great Lakes system. So it's really incredible place, and it's the traditional and current homelands of the Anishinaabe people too. You want to know like how my work relates to sustainability and other things about me, I think, right? Okay, just a couple context building things right now. It's the season of like looking for ducks where I live, as like certain parts of the ice goes away and ducks come back. So that's going to be my weekend activity. And my office is on a human-made island in the Duluth Superior Harbor, made out of like dredge material. And there have been otters outside it lately, also playing in the open water. So those are some just general nature, like phenology things that are happening in my life right now. And I am the education coordinator at the Lake Superior National Estuarine Research Reserve, which I just call the Lake Superior Reserve. But that role really relates to sustainability, I think, because well, it's part of a network of special coastal places, like led by NOAA, the big federal NOAA, and all of the different sites. We're one of 30 reserves, and they all focus on like research and stewardship and education around estuaries, which are really hubs of community, because it's where like there's a lot of food and they're really productive. And I just think of I think of the way I approach environmental education is just has a lot of the principles of sustainability with like I think environmental education is people engaging with each other where they are, and I think that that's a big element of understanding dynamics of what is contributing to a system that can keep it going. Community work, I think there's my county has a leadership program that I found out about. I just started at my job in May, and there's like the Douglas County leadership program that my organization is sponsoring my attendance at. And so every month for a day, I get together with these other people in this program, and we like learn about what's happening in Superior and in the county, and do some projects through that. And it's just a really powerful way to get to know the community around me. So I'm excited about that. And that's it for now.
Thank you. Sophie, you can go next.
Sounds good. Hi, I am Sophie Bishop. As Lily said, that I graduated UMN Morris in 2017, and I have bounced around multiple different kinds of jobs trying to learn what I actually like and what I want to do. And I found that I did do enjoy environmental education. So as Lily said, my most recent job was for Minneapolis Park Board at the Eloise Butler Wildflower Garden as interpretive naturalist. And so that is a seasonal job. And so it was only from April through October. And I taught people plants and animals. We have like hundreds of plants at that wildflower garden, and it's a big birding place also. And so it was just really fun to work in that community and teach people about their own backyard and what they can find there, and get excited about seeing things and hopefully get excited about preserving those things, and so future generations can see them too. But I will say that was a seasonal position. So right now I'm in between education jobs. I am currently looking, but it has been very hard since COVID hit, trying to find things. It's been way more competitive than usual. And I will say a lot of the jobs that are happening right now are like retirees, like retiring. And so they're very high, and I just don't have 10 years of experience right now because I just graduated not that long ago. Or those jobs that are out right now are the seasonal jobs, which are great and you learn a lot from them. But full-time position is kind of where I'm looking forward right now. So volunteering, I'll be volunteering with Eloise Butler soon when it opens in April. I helped teach their birding program each week. And so I'll be doing that, volunteering my time. I think it's going to be on Saturdays in the morning, and we're going to go birding and teaching them how to identify birds and enjoy the outdoors. And then just other things going on in my life that relate to sustainability. I'm excited to start gardening soon. I built raised bed gardens at my house, and so I'm going to be doing that. And then spring migration, very, very excited about that. My backyard kind of looks like the background of Luciana. Sorry if I said your name wrong. So I've been seeing a lot of birds happening. We got hooded mergansers the other day, which was very excited. My favorite duck. So that's it about me right now.
Thank you all for telling us a little bit about yourselves and your work. So next question is, because you're all Morris grads, could you tell us a little bit about your time at Morris? And that could be anything from your coursework, internships, student employment, and other extracurricular things that you did. And we can do the same order. So Joe, you can go first.
Oh, good. I have the distinction of being the oldest on this panel. So my UMM career started in 2007. I did a 4-year program. Started off actually in secondary ed and biology. Dropped the secondary ed program, which I have come to regret for those of you listening. But I did finish my biology program, and at the time, environmental science actually was just getting started, and talked a bit with Troy and with some other friends, Troy Goodnow at the campus, and some other friends, and took some classes in sort of in pursuit of that. Never really wrapped that into a real degree, but took some additional chemistry courses and physics courses and a hydrology course and so on. So it's sort of just broadening my biology degree, really. Yeah, my time as far as extracurriculars, I was in karate. I swam on my own. There wasn't a boys team at the time. I was in the practice squad for rugby, and then went home to visit my parents and told them that I was going to play rugby, and they told me what our insurance deductible was, and then I quit rugby because I could not afford to get hurt. So those were my extracurriculars. Oddly, I was friends with some of the people that had horses on campus. I don't even know if they still have horses on campus. Do they, Lily? Lily's nodding her head, yes. So I was friends with the horse people. I grew up with horses my whole life, but I actually didn't do any horse stuff while I was at Morris, other than go over into the barn and help feed a couple times. Yeah, I loved my experience at Morris. I loved the size of the campus. I loved the intimacy that the small class sizes provided, especially when you get into the upperclassmen classes. At any rate, those 3rd and 4th year classes really provide an opportunity to make some really strong connections, both in the field, but also just personal connections. And many of those I've maintained throughout my life. I met the man who stood in my wedding in a chemistry class. I think Troy was probably I don't remember. I think Troy was somehow related to the class. If he was a lab, I don't remember it anymore. But anyway, and of course I met my wife at Morris as well. In my brief time in the education program, we met. So yeah, I just thought it was a great place to learn, and yeah, have fond memories of all of it. How did your experience at Morris help you get where you are? As I broadened my perspective from biology to a more environmental science field, and even if I just stuck with biology, I think the benefit of a liberal arts degree is becoming more and more apparent as the sort of globe progresses towards a sustainable, hopefully sustainable future. And I think if you're smart and ambitious, you can leverage your experience at Morris and a liberal arts degree to market your skills for nearly any occupation that you desire. Don't let anyone discourage you because you, quote, have a liberal arts degree. A liberal arts degree is very powerful if you know how to use it and how to explain yourself and your learning from Morris as what it is, which is it's a preeminent learning facility.
Go, Joe. I was nodding enthusiastically. Yeah, I mean, in my job, I do some hiring and of educators, and right now I'm hiring a student for an open position, and really, like, I studied education. I know you learn a lot in education classes, and some of the things that I look for in people's application materials are like how they approach communication and like which ideas they think are related. And that is critical, because I can like teach somebody about a learning cycle and about what an estuary is, but I think some of that like way of thinking and connecting that comes from learning at Morris like is a lot harder to teach. So yeah, Joe was right. Let's see. Yeah, I arrived at Morris in 2009 and graduated in 2014. And like I said, did biology, and I stuck with secondary education, and I'm glad I did. And I've never taught in a classroom actually besides student teaching, but I've been able to keep my license up because it just hit the 5-year. You're going to lose it if you don't do some stuff. So luckily I got a master's degree, which a lot of the credits covered, and so I could keep it. I will say I'm still connected to some Morris friends too, and I was just with some of them earlier in March, and we were like, oh yeah, college was great, wasn't it? And then we were like, but wasn't it hard? And we were like, no, it was just great. And then 5 minutes later we were like, oh, but we went through some hard things. So I feel like for me the glossing over of some time is like, oh yeah, the things that stick up are either the really hard things or the like, oh yeah, I've got great friends, I learned a lot. Things that seemed big then seemed smaller now. So anyway, I agree, some of the really lasting things are like the freshwater biology and plant systematics, which I took in the biology program. I don't think I was nerdy about plants until Margaret had me learn all of them. And then I was like, oh wow, I love plants. And that's just really carried me through even in my like my teaching too, because then I know how to observe plants and how to like coach people through their observations. And gosh, in freshwater biology, I did like a group presentation on purple loosestrife and beetles that can help control it. And then in my work, we just hosted a 3-day like conference where people who work with the St. Louis River got together to share about their work, and there were purple loosestrife beetles in the presentations, and I've been ready for that since 2013. A thing that I stuck with outside of biology a lot was I played clarinet in symphonic winds all 5 years of my time at Morris, and that was awesome for me. It made me liberal artsify my friends in addition to my thoughts. And like music became a thing that helped me when I moved in like doing other like graduate programs or moving to a place for a new job. Like I did a graduate program in New Hampshire, and I found out that you could play clarinet in a band, in their undergrad band at a different university. They just wanted people to play. So I did that. And then I had a job in Wyoming, and I found they had a community band. So then I joined that, and I still haven't done that in Duluth and Superior, but I know I can. So anyway, that's just been like a grounding activity and force from Morris and beyond that I appreciated. Yeah, and I did rugby for a semester, Joe, and that was it. I thought it was so cool. And then, but it wasn't really for me. And then later in my life, I tried roller derby, and my mom said, "Oh no, you just pick risky sports." And I was like, "But you can wear pads in roller derby. Like, you're going fast maybe, but you can wear protective equipment." So I sold her. Yeah, I think I might give Sophie a turn. I get ideas from hearing both of you, so I'll stop there for now.
Okay. That was great. So I got my degree in environmental science and biology. I started out with environmental science right away, and I also had German with me. I was gonna graduate with both of those, but then I was like, science is taking up too much of my time. I can't do language. So I dropped the language, and I was like, geology seems pretty cool. So I brought geology into my environmental science. And then I learned that I can't remember all of that. And I don't know why, because like all the other sciences were like fine for me, but geology for some reason was not sticking in my brain. So I was like, I'm just going to cut that one off. Let's add biology instead. So I got the environmental science and biology, and I absolutely loved going to Morris. I grew up in a small town, so I was like, I'm going to stay in a small town. So I found Morris, and then I saw the wind turbines on the hill. I was like, yes, this is where I'm supposed to be. And so I didn't even apply to any other colleges. I was like, just Morris. And then I added like a few more things. I did the gardening club. I started liking gardening a little bit more. And then I didn't do rugby. I'm not in part of this group. I didn't do any sports, but in my sophomore year, I started at the Office of Sustainability as their climate education intern. And so I was one of the people that kind of started the Morris model movement with clean energy and energy conservation and all that jazz, and working with the community and reaching out to all those people, getting everyone's different backgrounds and ideas into making Morris a more sustainable place was fantastic. And just getting the word out there. And I was a big numbers person. And so I was like, just look at the data, like everything makes sense. But some people don't really understand, or don't really like, how do you say it? Like, go with the numbers or something else, and they need like the emotional side. And so I learned a lot of the emotional side through the Office of Sustainability, of learning like, oh, how's this affecting your family, or how is this affecting the things that are important to you in Morris, instead of just looking at the numbers for the whole world and bringing it down to a more of a different scale. And getting to work with the government there, and Blaine Hill as like the city manager, and the mayor, Sheldon Geezy, and just making a sustainability plan that I believe they are still working on to this day, and seeing all of the great energy that they're putting up, like the solar panels and stuff like that. So with that job, I went to West Central Research and Outreach Center as my internship for my degree. So just up the hill. And I did solar energy on dairy farms and looking at the economics of that. And I really enjoyed it, I was like, oh, I'm going to go into the energy field. This is what I'm going to do. So Troy actually said, like, you should try Green Corps right after. And so I did that and did energy, but I was placed in a high school, and that's where I fell in love with education. And just it was a very small school. It was only 80 students, which was the whole high school. And just being around them and learning from them and being able to teach them and get them excited about things that I'm excited about, like frogs or plants or something like that, and was a great feeling. And that's when I fell in love with environmental education and seeing the impact that it can make on other people or in their communities, and seeing that they can make a different change to help them, even their schools out. And they have a club that they started, and it was just a lot of fun. So that's my journey.
Yeah, all of your experiences in undergrad seem really interesting, and you got a lot out of it, I think. So I think Sophie kind of maybe went in to the next question a little bit, which is, what did you do like right after graduation? Yeah, just your life immediately after you left Morris.
Same order, Lily?
Yep.
Okay. So Sophie, thanks for reminding me. I totally forgot the internships portion. I did an internship at West Rock at the research center in dairy, actually. So yeah, I had angled more for the agricultural part. So I got a dairy internship. I like tested dry matter and centrifuged blood samples and did a lot of computer entry. They were this is really going to age me, but we were still using DOS. So I brushed up on my Microsoft DOS skills, Microsoft DOS. You guys probably don't even know what that is. And and then they didn't have a herd manager. They didn't have a herd manager hired. So the farm manager, oh, his name slips me now. Anyway, the dairy farm manager came over and he said, "Do you know animals?" And I said, "Yeah, I grew up on a farm." And he said, "Excellent, I need somebody to move cattle," which I assumed was for the evening. And it turned out it was for the semester. So I was both the science intern and a herds person, and I would drive the ATV out into the fields there below campus and herd the herd of dairy cattle back under the road and all the way up to the farm. So every milking period in the evenings. So yeah, so I had that job. I only did one semester internship with them, and then I did many semesters with Center for Small Towns. And there I worked with a whole bunch of different entities. I did one with the city of Milan in Western Minnesota on a sort of renovations to a city building for sustainability. I helped a professor evaluate a statewide health grant, traveled around, visited with people all over central Minnesota on how they were using state funds to achieve a health initiative. Which was sort of a big deal. That would have been 2009, I think. The state had just made the decision to shift dollars out of these sort of public health statements, which had been big billboards or the advertisements on TV where somebody gets in a car accident or smoking, blah blah blah, that kind of stuff. Some forward-thinking person at the state level determined that perhaps we could use some of that money toward more localized education, and so they were distributing these small grants out to all of these different entities that were using them for like FIAD equipment in schools and startup funds for community gardens. Excuse me. all these different things. So that was really awesome. Really got to broaden my perspective there. And yeah, just continued working with Center for Small Towns, learning a lot there. So then immediately following graduation, sticking with the agricultural background, I got a job with Pioneer Seeds as a research associate. So my immediate job out of college was not in environmental science or education, but in research. So I worked with Pioneer for a little over 5 years. And then as big companies go, they shut our research station down and moved the jobs out of town. And I grew up in Wilmer. So for those of you who don't know, Wilmer is about a little over an hour southeast of Morris. So I grew up out here, and my whole family's from here. So I didn't have any desire to move. So I left. Then I started back at the bottom of the research ladder with Genio, literally putting turkey poop in little baggies for sampling. And it was very interesting work, lots more microbiological. I hadn't really gotten into micro with Pioneer. Pioneer was largely genetic work. So that was really interesting. And again, I mean, just hearkening back to what I'd already said, relying on the very broad Morris education. You know, I was able to pull I took plant systematics with Margaret as well. You know, pull some of that plant information that I'd gleaned, pull some of that genetic information that I'd gleaned, and really be a positive contribution to the companies that I worked for. So worked my way up at Genio to a scientist level, working in food safety. I was the lead process authority for Genio. Traveled around. At the time we had 5 cook plants spread throughout Minnesota and Wisconsin. So I made a lot of tracks traveling around, and then Genio hires other people to pack meat around the country. So I made some trips to eastern Wisconsin and Indiana and Illinois, and elsewhere, just traveling around the country. Sort of got burned out of the whole corporate deal. At that point, I'd been doing corporate stuff for more than 10 years, and really missed the sort of the sustainable perspective and education. Really came to regret not finishing my education degree. So I tried teaching for 3 months at a detention facility. It was eye-opening. I really liked working with the kids. It was actually the corporate pressures there, totally outside of the school, that were making it sort of unsustainable, you might say. And then I just couldn't get I couldn't get my license in an efficient manner. It was the middle of the pandemic, and teachers are still short. I mean, the districts are short of teachers, so there just wasn't an ability for me to get classroom hours in pursuit of license. So I actually briefly went back to Genio, thinking I could get back into research. That didn't that didn't happen. And I was only back at Genio for a very short time, and this position that I'm in now came open. So now I am the program manager for Youth Eco Solutions, which is a program under Prairie Woods Environmental Learning Center. Prairie Woods is a regional education facility located in Spicer, Minnesota, and actually on the rural acreage that I live on, it's like just across the slough. I can see my workplace from my home, which is really wonderful. The campus is 500 acres of mixed deciduous forest and prairie and slough ground. So it's a collaboration with the county. It's been around since 1991, so I literally grew up next to it, and I'm just so excited to finally be working in sustainability, working with kids. Yes as a program is really an outreach program, working with high schools and middle schools across the state of Minnesota. And we focus on action projects. So it's really about the kids working with their local communities, getting projects done in the pursuit of ecological and environmental sustainability. And that's enough. I've talked long enough.
Okay,
Okay.
I'll go. Yeah. I was just looking up. Yes, it looks awesome. Okay. Other things I also did not mention was like the field research opportunities that I had through Morris that were really incredible. And at some points made people question like, why do you want to go into education, Luciana? You like doing this research and like problem solving and seeing what's there and communicating about it. And I'm like, exactly. And that's why I want to go into education. But yeah, I did, I think 2 summers with Margaret as a student, researching with her. And that was really incredible and set the stage true also for my understanding of like what parts of like research are interesting to like, what's an entry point for like teaching that and doing that with students. So anyway, I know I'm going to forget things that were formative, but it's just the way it is. They're woven into us. The question really was, what did you do after you graduated? I mean, I had the like end of college job application panic. I remember like sitting at Common Cup after getting back from student teaching and just trying to think about what I wanted to do. And because I studied a program that like had a pretty clear path, like apply for middle school or high school teaching jobs, Luciana. But student teaching was hard on me. And I was like, I don't have the stories and examples for this yet. Like, I'm not going to do this right now. And so I don't know how I found it, but up the north shore of Lake Superior in Minnesota is a town called Finland, and there was a place there, Wolf Ridge Environmental Learning Center. We all have environmental learning center like in us. I didn't realize Prairie Woods was ELC, and then Deep Portage is an ELC. So Lily, you found us all. And they had a graduate program that was like, come live on site, learn about teaching outdoors, take some graduate like education and outdoor teaching methods courses as part of it, and learn a lot and be accountable for teaching the groups that come there for a visit. So I did that, and that follows Sophie's vein of like seasonal work and work that can be inaccessible because it's like a job, but it's also like a training program at once. You have to have the like capacity to relocate and to do it. But that opportunity for me set me up to sort of in a way like keep being able to renew my position there and make it a longer seasonal thing. And because that really helped me dive into more like teaching practice and how we teach kids and adults outside translates to in the classroom, and that like what's important is that students are keeping track of their learning, not just you. So like, how do you set it up so learners are like, oh yeah, I learned something. Like if you ask them, what are you doing and why, they should be able to spit out an answer at you. And it's remarkable that sometimes we can't. So yeah, I did that program and kept like learning and teaching there for about 3 years, and then pursued finishing my master's degree in environmental education at Antioch University, New England, out in New Hampshire. And I vowed I would never go to a private school. I was like, no, that's not me. I went to public schools as a kid and really, really valued like Sophie said, like being at Morris. And at first, when I was in high school, it wasn't my first choice. And then by the time I decided where I wanted to go, it was my first choice. And then it stayed my first choice in my years there. I think it's a gem and really sets people up well. I don't know. But Antioch was able to like have a pretty like a good like interdisciplinary and like weave in a social and environmental justice like value set into like our work and the courses. And so that was worth it for me to like to go there. And so I did. Yeah, and I guess that like my curriculum development experience, my teaching experience that I was able to get at Wolfridge, and some of my like project like mentoring people through stuff, then went into my graduate program. And after that, I was able to access some more of those jobs that were like coordinating programs or supervising seasonal staff, which sometimes I didn't like because I missed teaching. But then I realized that supervising and coaching like seasonal staff is teaching too, because like we're all the learners, like we're teaching each other, and whoever watches this later, like every staff meeting you could think of as a lesson. So anyway, I'm gonna be done. That was a lot.
I'm sorry that I kind of went into this already with the previous question, but I'll go with it again. So right after college, like I said, Troy kind of pushed me into checking out Green Corps, which is a AmeriCorps program. And I got hired there as an energy conservation Green Corps member. And I was placed in a high school in West St. Paul. As I said, it was very small with like 80 students. And my main goals were to get their B3 benchmarking going, getting their energy consumption down, getting their water consumption down, and integrating climate change into all 4 disciplines. They only had 4 teachers, 1 for science, 1 for math, 1 for history, and 1 for English. And I was supposed to put in a little bit of climate change and sustainability education and curriculum into those 4 disciplines and help them like with their journey of making their school a little bit more sustainable and a little bit more greener. And another thing that I did there was revamp their outdoor classroom, because it was pretty much just like a little bit of a garden and then a broken down greenhouse. And so we got rid of that, and we actually put benches in and chalkboards so any classes could be held outdoors, just to get the students fresh air and to get a little bit of a different scenery. And I actually helped teach a gardening course that was a 2-week long, teaching kids how to plant, how to like get them to weed, to mulch, and what soil to use, and about like the 3 sisters, which is like corn, beans, and squash. And it was a lot of fun there. And I learned from there that I kind of want to do more of the education side of things instead of the energy side of things. So I got a job next at Nye Nature Center, which is in the South, and I was the administrative assistant and the YES program coordinator for the Southern region.
Oh my gosh, that's why your name was familiar, Sophie.
Yeah.
Gosh, this name seems so familiar.
Yeah. So so I worked for the YES program, and that was a lot of fun working with the schools in the Southern region and getting them their goals going, and like building greenhouses and recycling lights and getting their hydroponic systems going. And it was a lot of fun. And then at the nature center, I did a lot of paperwork, and I was like the face that people saw when they first came in. And I helped teach there with like field trips and classes that came, and that was great. but I didn't get to do as much teaching that I wanted to do. So I went up to Portage Environmental Learning Center next up north. And so I was an educator there, and I taught every week whenever students came. So field trips come and they spend nights there. So this usually schools from Monday to Wednesday, and the Wednesday to Friday was the usual thing, but it could be a whole week. They could be there for a day. But it was a lot of fun because you get different kids all the time, and you get to see so many different personalities and see how your teaching can evolve with all these different kinds of people. And just being outside most of the time was just absolutely phenomenal. But when I was there, COVID hit. And so we were all laid off right away, pretty much, because schools were not doing field trips anymore. So no field trips means no job at the Environmental Learning Center. And so that's kind of where it kind of got rocky for me. I didn't really know what I wanted to do or go where next. And then I found the job at the Minneapolis Parks and Rec Board at the Eloise Butler Wildflower Garden, as I said before. But it was just a seasonal position, and I learned so much there and got to write my own curriculum for different programs, which is great, and look at all the different phenology that is happening at just this one little spot. So that is my journey through after school until now.
Thank you for sharing about your journeys. You all did some pretty cool things, and apparently intersect in surprising ways. So that was cool. But our time is running a little low. So can you all briefly share about what you'd like to do next? Something related to sustainability. Like, what's your plans? And Joe, you can go first again.
All right, I will be brief, I promise. The line from where you are to where you want to go is never straight. And I think the three of us on the panel today really exemplify that. But if Morris teaches you anything, part of being sustainable is being flexible. So where I want to go next, I'm really excited to be with Yes. And I really want, Yes was hit hard by the pandemic as well. I'm coming on, I've only been with Yes for 2 months. So I'm brand new, and I've tasked myself and my coordinators with rebuilding it. So Sophie, if you ever want to come back, but I'd like to regrow the program and really get it back to its statewide potential.
I personally, what's next, and work also overlaps. Like, I started my current job in Superior in May, and I just I have a pretty big personal investment into like diving into the community and like volunteering and finding community bands and that sort of thing wherever I live. And it's been a little hard to re-ground with pandemic ongoing. And so I am excited to figure out the like regrounding in the community where I am, because I think knowing your neighbors is a big part of aiming for sustainability goals. And in my work, well, I am interested in developing more community programs too. So that's why it lines up with my personal goal. We have pretty strong teacher professional development programs that I love running. And I just really want our little museum about the estuary and ourselves to sort of be like a hub if the people want it to be a hub. We're not going to be a hub just because we should be, but yeah, I'm doing a project right now at work about community assets and opportunities, and I'm just really excited to learn through that project and then morph this position in our work to fit that.
I want to find a job in my field. So hopefully that will be coming soon. I have 2 interviews this week. So hopefully something good will come out of it. I will say, times could be sometimes tough, but you just got to keep pushing through it and reaching for the goal that you want. And learning, as Joe said, to be flexible and moving with everything, and taking opportunities as they come. And so hopefully I'll be going towards my goal soon again, or I've been thinking about going to graduate school to get my master's in something. An environment. I would like education, but also possibly in also the science field, because I do enjoy that a lot. But we'll definitely see. But in personal life, birding, spring migration is it's here, and I'm very excited. You can even tell I have my shirt has birds all over it, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm wearing this today. So hopefully that's going to be my future. So
That's awesome.
So thank you again for being here. It was amazing to hear about your journeys, and I appreciate that you threw in some advice in your answers. So especially the one about leveraging our liberal education. That was a good, oh yeah, I liked that one. Sorry. And being flexible. So thanks again. I am going to stop the recording right now, but thank you again. I said that like 3 times, but that's how grateful I am.